please, whatever it takes, call your grandmother, go to your great-grandfather's burial spot, go back to the old country, go to a shelter, do something that recalibrates your perspective on what is actually going on here.
Every person in here fucking won the lotto. You won. Way too many people have made decisions without ever trying. Everybody's judging themselves way too early. You can literally do 4 different things over the next 2 years, 6 months at a time to figure out everything that you think you might like, you should try to do. Doing something around passion is very similar to love. You're blinded because you like it.
It's not rational.
It's not rational. The number one reason I push patience, man, patience. Everybody's looking up to audit themselves where they are now is because patience will give you the air cover to take risks. Time is your asset. What I would do is gather as many experiences as possible. The one thing a 20-year-old has over me is 20 years. Get the fuck out of the machine for a second and think about what you're doing here. You get optimism and patience, you're fucking off to the fucking races. The 99% that achieve are willing to sacrifice, be persistent, put in disproportionate work, and think in 50-year terms, not 50-day terms. If you really fail, like go out of business, I think people take one of 2 ways, right? They're like just finished and they're never able to get off the mat and they go in a different direction. So to me, I think quantifying the failure is important to me. They gotta change, you gotta evolve. Like Madonna did it right. She reinvented herself 14 times. That's why she had a long career. You know, like you've got to reinvent yourself. You know, so let's talk about sports. When you're the best athlete and you're like the guy and you're like one of the top 15 players, Draymond Green, he's my buddy. Draymond really worked on his game every offseason. You know, Ricky Rubio, the flashy point guard from Minnesota, if he developed his outside shot, he would have been a much bigger player. He had all the passing skills, the quickness, he's got everything. If instead of going to Ibiza and fucking chicks in the off season, he worked on his 18-foot jumper, he'd be in the game. If you are 22 years old, you are entering, first of all, some of the greatest years of your life, A, but B, this is the moment, because you have to understand, this next 5-year window is when you don't go practical and safe. This is not the time to get the job mom wanted you to. This is not the time to try to maximize as much money so you can buy a fat whip. This is the time to realize that you have a 5-year window, and it's 3 for some, it's 8 for others, but this is a 5-year window for you to attack the life that you want to win, not because it's the secret or because the world's so zen, because it's fucking hard as shit out there. I know that this is when you're supposed to grow up and go see the world. But guess what? The world isn't what mommy and daddy told you. The world is exactly going to be what it's going to be, with or without the way you thought it was gonna be. A ton of shit is gonna change. The world changes every goddamn day. Right now, what you need to recognize is you can afford to. And again, because I'm scared, I can hear myself talking. I'm not saying it's the secret, it's practicality. When you are in your early 20s, this is when you can grind at your highest levels, because there isn't all the baggage that comes across from life. It's harder for the 42-year-olds that are watching right now to listen to this advice. You can't just wake up tomorrow and be like, let's go. Because little Sally has soccer fucking practice. And because you've got a million other things that are holding you down. But boy, if you're lucky enough to be graduating today with not an idea of what you're gonna do with your future, nobody's ever been luckier than you. Please recognize that. If you want to be an anomaly, you have to act like one. Like, people want all these special things to happen, but then they're acting like everybody else. My lack of interest in complaining is so high, and when I watch what people complain about, it breaks my heart because they completely lack perspective. And I genuinely believe my happiness and optimism comes from my perspective. There's so many people that are talking about how big of an entrepreneur they're gonna be and how much they're gonna achieve, and they don't work on weekends. You know, I worked every Saturday of my 20s. And I talk to 20-year-old entrepreneurs every single day. Lately, I've been saying to them, this Saturday, you're gonna have more time off than I've had in my entire 20s. So before you tell me how you're gonna be bigger than me, start thinking about what you're actually doing. I think positivity and good is practical advice to building an empire. And I want to be the poster child of the person that built the biggest, baddest empire and did it by being a good dude along the way. I plan to instill kindness into my kids. I plan on instilling perspective into my kids. I plan in instilling just being a good human being, right? Like, I don't need them to be an entrepreneur. I don't need them to make me proud. They don't need to go to Harvard. They don't need to do shit. They need to be themselves, all in, and they need to be kind, and I'm good. I don't judge myself. I'm fully in love with myself. But I'm also fully in love with everybody else too. It goes both ways. Like, I tell people to buy into me, that work for me, it's because I buy into them first. I don't need anybody to gain trust with me. It's there. The reality is that it's just never been better to be a human being. That's just the truth. That's just data. That's reality. Karma is practical. I love how people think karma is like this weird thing. Doing good for other people is a good strategy. Like, I've been like trying to, I'm like, why does this thing even exist? It's actually the most common sense thing of all time. Why does karma seem weird? The fuck is karma? Like, wait a minute. So you're telling me, like, if you do lots of good things, that weirdly good things happen to you? Yeah, that seems like common sense.
This is a game of the edges. Everybody's focused in the middle. 90%, 95%, 99% of the shit you think about and you consume is in the middle, so you don't pay attention to the edges. It's a fucking game of the edges. Once you get your relationship down with the 7 fucking people that matter the most in your life and actually get to the place of saying, I love you, but fuck you. And once you get to that same relationship over here, which is super simple, I'm not sure I even know you, and fuck you. That's the game. Now, don't confuse fuck you. Let me explain what I mean. I roll with empathy and compassion and sympathy. This isn't fuck you for hate. This is I'm not willing to live my life under your judgment of what life is. Because eventually, let me tell you the biggest mistake people make that I've observed through the millions of interactions over the last decade that I consume. There are people right now that are living their life still in their 40s and 50s based on the opinion of their parents. They think they're doing the right thing because they fucking actually love their parents. I get it. I love my parents so uncomfortably much, it scares me. But they live it because they're appeasing lawyer, 2 kids, living in this area, doing this job. Don't take risks because we told you not to. We came from a generation that didn't, so you're doing that. Or I was once an entrepreneur and fucked it up, and so we were scared, so now you don't do that. They live for their parents. They think it's good because everything's good because you're doing what your parents want. You feel like it's good. And then life keeps going. And then what starts happening is they start to resent their parents. Because now they're popping to their 50th birthday, their 60th birthday, their 65th birthday. They get a health scare and they're like, fuck, I'm not doing what I want to be doing. My friends, until our society, and this country especially, redefines success in being happy, not being rich, everybody will continue to go down the path that we're seeing in our society of depression, anxiety, drugs.